I didn't think I would need braces again as an adult. When my teeth started to shift a few years ago, I have to admit I was a little self-conscious about my smile with all the videos and press I was doing. Invisalign was the only option for me. My smile has become one of the signatures of my personal brand and gives me the confidence I need to take on the world. Invisalign is nearly invisible, comfortable to wear, and comparable in price to metal braces. You can learn more at Invisalign.com. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Conquer Summit. I'm your host Natalie MacNeil, and joining me today is my beautiful friend Nisha Moodley. She is a coach, a community cultivator, a writer, a speaker, and she calls herself a student of freedom, which we are going to talk about today. Nisha, welcome. Thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you so much, Natalie, for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
So you wrote in a recent email, when we seek support to hear our heart, clarity arises. Can you tell me what you meant by seeking support to hear our heart? What kind of support are you talking about?
Yeah, so I really believe that the world will be set free by women who are free, and that the key to a woman's freedom is sisterhood. So when we have the courage to come together with the close women in our life, first of all, to cultivate those relationships, but also to be willing to move past the discomfort of asking for support, of asking for help, that there's a way that in that space we have an expansion, a potential for an expansion of freedom. So support to hear our heart means that we come to the close women in our life, to our sisters, and ask them, listen, I'm confused about something, or I'd like clarity around something. Can you help guide me to hear my own inner wisdom, to hear what is real and true for me? And I find that in that space, when we're able to hear not just advice from someone else, but what really feels true in our heart, that we can have that sort of bigger clarity than we can have when we just are taking someone else's opinion into account.
Yeah, and you weren't always this confident woman and freedom fighter that we know you as today. So can you take me back a decade when you were in the cosmetics industry and not necessarily happy with your job, but what was going on in your life at the time, and how did you arrive at that enough is enough and decide to start your own business?
So I was in my early 20s and mid 20s, I guess. I had been in the cosmetics industry for almost a decade. And I went through a breakup with my boyfriend. We had been together for a couple of years. We thought we were going to get married. So breaking up was a really big deal. And I decided to, as a way to cope really with the breakup, to start practicing yoga. And I started practicing yoga, and that kind of took me down the rabbit hole of getting passionate about environmental sustainability and holistic health. And so there was this little while for a few months where I was kind of leading a double life. I was going to work during the day and, like wearing 18 items of cosmetics and really done up. And there was kind of like music, like working in the aesthetics department. And then in the evenings, I was doing environmental sustainability photography projects and going to poetry slams and wearing little to no makeup. And I just was noticing that my passion for health and environmental sustainability was much larger than my passion for what I was doing for my job. I just had this moment where I realized, I'm only on this earth for a limited amount of time. Why would I not want to spend the majority of my working life doing something that I'm passionate about? So I actually just, the first step was finding a new bridge job, actually. I just left the cosmetics industry
and got cold turkey right away.
Well, almost. I actually walked into my naturopath's office one day and I was like, oh, this seems like such a beautiful place to work. And I remember walking back to my job after my doctor's appointment, and I phoned the office, and the receptionist said, yeah, did you leave anything here? And I said, no, this is a strange question. But are you hiring? And I realized she was the only person that worked there that wasn't one of the doctors. And she said, actually, I'm going to nursing school in 2 weeks. We've been looking for somebody. And I literally, got to my job and then walked back to the doctor's office and interviewed and gave my notice the following day. And so I did that job for 6 months and then decided to really pursue my passion full force and study nutrition and build a business.
Yeah, and then you built your business, and I've read in many of your amazing articles that you write that eventually that led to burnout as well, and it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. And I think I read this somewhere that the office ceiling that you had actually collapsed on you. Your office ceiling collapsed. Is that true?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you take that as a sign?
It was interesting because I was asking for signs, and then in the middle of the night, I hear the loudest crash because my office was next to my bedroom in my home. And yeah, about an 8 foot by 8 foot sheet of the ceiling had fallen. And I just cried. I cried for weeks after that. I was so burnt out. And it was around the time that I had heard, you've probably heard this, Natalie, the Dalai Lama said, the world will be saved by the Western woman.
Oh, yeah.
That time when the ceiling fell, I was really in inquiry. I was trying to do my good work and kind of, quote unquote, do my part to save the world. And yet I was totally burned out. So I started to get into this inquiry, which ones of us? I figured it was no longer going to be those of us who kind of were on our soapbox preaching about having an extraordinary life or living in good health. It was going to be those of us who were actually being the change. So that's where the world will be set free by women who are free.
And that was a big turning point for you.
Huge,
yeah.
Huge.
Now you say confusion is your kryptonite. Tell me about that. What do you get confused about? You seem to have everything together. Where's the confusion?
Well, thanks for seeing me as together. I think that we all have our default emotions. Some people get angry really easily. Some people get really sad really easily. For me, I go into confusion really easily. And I think that in a way, that confusion is a way of me kind of escaping the discomfort of whatever it is that I'm facing or just even the fear of moving forward sometimes, right? We're up to big things, and sometimes it can be scary to be up to those big things. And so I think that for me, I have to watch out for confusion. So this is a good note for anybody to notice. Where do they go emotionally? I have to watch out for confusion. Because if I go into confusion, it's often a way that I am unintentionally using to play small, to keep myself small.
So how do you avoid that confusion then? How do you pull yourself out of that if other people are experiencing that as well? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah. So part of it is getting really, really reconnected with my North Star. And I consider my North Star to be I call it your why for you and your why for the world. So my why for the world is a future vision for the planet and her people that really inspires me and calls me into action. And my why for me is a vision for my life, for my future that really inspires me and calls me forward. So when I have the marriage of those two whys, as my North Star, there's a way that it kind of creates this alignment, this experience of, oh, right, this is where I'm headed. And that sort of helps to clarify the next right action to take. And then also, we were to circle back to the beginning of the call, getting support in the space of sisterhood, asking the close women in my life, other friends who are entrepreneurs or just old girlfriends, to help me hear what feels true for me.
Now, we've been talking about freedom, and we keep going back to freedom, and you say women's freedom is the key to a better planet. So how do you actually define freedom for yourself?
Yeah, so I think there are two types of freedom. There's intrinsic freedom, which is really having a sense of wholeness and peace regardless of our circumstances. And then there's extrinsic freedom, which has everything to do with our circumstances. And, a lot of people in the internet marketing community are talking about that kind of freedom, right? The freedom to be able to travel and do work that we love and so forth. So really I'm looking at the marriage of both. It's the integration of both that inner freedom, that sense of wholeness and peace and alignment within ourselves, and also our freedom for expression in the world.
Beautiful. And on this journey that you've been on now for, I guess, over a decade or longer, going back to when you had first entered the working world and now everything that you're up to as an entrepreneur, what is the most unexpected lesson that you've learned along the way?
I would say, and I think a lot of people are talking about this right now, so it might come off as a little cliche, but it really is so true. The power of vulnerability. I figured that building this business was about really kind of forward-facing marketing and then serving my clients in a really powerful way. And so, how does everything look and feel? And then when clients come in, am I taking impeccable care of them and creating an extraordinary experience? And those things are important, but what I've realized is that the look and feel actually has to come from a place of deep alignment, of sharing who we really are. And the entrepreneurial journey is actually one of the most extraordinary personal development journeys I can think of going on. It's really incredible. And so there's this incredible deep work that we do, I think, as aligned entrepreneurs, so that what we're putting out in the world is a true, genuine, authentic expression of who we are and what we believe in. And I just didn't know that that level of vulnerability of me, Nisha, being part of this was going to be the key to everything.
Yeah, and I think that's why we connect as well. I think we go deeper in what we share than a lot of other people, and I really appreciate that you will talk about the really difficult times. You'll talk about the ups and the downs equally. I mean, it's a journey, like you said, and I think a lot of people, they don't want to share that side because it makes them feel weak, when it's actually usually the complete opposite. You know, as you share, I think you get so much strength from that.
Totally. It takes a huge amount of strength to share openly.
Well, I am so grateful that you've been here sharing with us for this session of the Conquer Summit. And I know you have an actionable and some homework for people to go off and do to start putting our conversation into action in their lives and businesses. So what is that actionable that you have for our viewers?
Yeah, so I want everybody to get a Post-it note. I love Post-it notes. So step is get a Post-it note, and you're going to write 3 questions on it. And the first question is why. So this is about getting in touch with our why for us and our why for the world. And by the way, this whole exercise really is about helping us figure out what are the most high-level aligned actions that we can take every day. So we can take this conversation and actually put it into helping us take aligned action. So the 3 questions are why. The second question is, what would make me proud? And the third question is, what do I really need to do today? And so I take this Post-it note, I stick it beside my bed. If you use your cell phone as your alarm clock like I do, put it right on there so you're not tempted to get into email or anything like that first thing in the morning. And when you wake up, ask yourself these 3 questions. And the why helps give us the North Star. The question, what do I really need to do today, is the getting real with ourselves question, where we look at, okay, maybe the laundry can wait, and maybe fiddling around with updating my Facebook profile can wait, but oh, that one call that I need to complete to get that client, that is really what I need to do today. So that's the second question. And then the other question, what would make me proud, helps us consider when I come to bed tonight and I'm reflecting on my day, what would make me proud? And it has us look at things more holistically. Most of us would be more proud if we actually fed ourselves well and called mom back and did, cultivated the relationships in our life that are important and meaningful to us, so that it's not just all about work.
That's beautiful. I love the morning and evening reflection time because, isn't it an amazing thing when you actually start your day in a more contemplative space and by really setting a strong intention instead of just going on your digital device. I mean, I used to do that. I used to get up and check email and all that. And for the last couple of years, I haven't. And I feel like it's completely changed my whole world.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes we think productivity is about doing more. I
Yeah.
think it's about doing better.
Yeah. Productivity is about doing better. What a great way to end. And thank you so, so much for being here with us. This has been a really lovely conversation, and I know our viewers have gotten so much value from it as well. So thank you for being with us and for being you. I love you, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thanks, Natalie. It's so great to be with you, and enjoy the rest of the interviews.
Thank you so much for watching this session of the Conquer Summit, and I'll see you in the next one.